does it get reinvested here in Europe? Do founders leave the likes of Spotify, Deliveroo to go and build their own companies?
Absolutely. We recently did a study, and it showed that 200 unicorns in Europe have in fact generated 1,200 new startup companies. And that is critical for the ecosystem, because for an ecosystem you need capital, entrepreneurs, but also repeat management teams. And that is finally now starting to happen, which was very different from 23 years ago when the market was very, very early.
Yeah, and it took a while to build such unicorns. I mean, when you say that there have been more than 200, I think it's exactly 221 unicorns in the region, people might be slightly surprised by that, do you think? I mean, what key areas have we seen billion-dollar companies founded here in Europe?
Yeah, well, it was our conviction 23 years ago that it was indeed possible for Europe to generate these billion-dollar outcomes. Our investors doubted it at the time. In fact, we had to wait 5 years for that first unicorn to show up, and then 3 more years for the second one to show up.
What was the first one, do you remember?
The first one was Skype.
Of course.
And then MySQL in 2008. So the big sectors that have generated is online games, Supercell, enterprise software, ClickTech, consumer technologies, including Skype. So a variety of things, in fact, which is one of the things that characterized that very early market. You couldn't really specialize in anything. You had to be very broad, because innovation happened across the board, but at very shallow layers. There weren't many companies of the same type.
It's interesting, of course, of Skype was Nicholas Zenstrom, who's gone on to found his own VC when you think of Atomico. And I'm interested in, like, that was early days sort of artificial intelligence before AI was cool to be saying in every single lexicon. But what are you seeing in terms of AI proficiency here? We're about to have an AI summit about the regulation, the safety. Is there key AI expertise and businesses being built here in Europe?
Absolutely. There's many universities across Europe that have generated very interesting founders and deep technology insights into artificial intelligence. We've been funding a number of those. And artificial intelligence is really impacting a number of the themes that we're investing in already. Enterprise automation with artificial intelligence, you can actually improve that. Cybersecurity, powered by artificial intelligence, you can actually make that better. So we see artificial intelligence as a major paradigm shift, a new platform, if you will, after many of the others. So we had the internet, we had mobile, we had cloud computing, now we have AI.
Why then, let's play the cynic and the counter to this narrative of one that is optimistic, why then do you think there is this worry about post-Brexit, London not being an ecosystem for Europe? Why then do you think perhaps in a current market cycle that's been very difficult, we're not getting companies raising their funds in Europe, instead arms going to the US for the deep pockets?
Yeah, I think we've gone through a very strange period during COVID where there was an enormous amount of capital available and enterprises actually overbought software. That is now over. So we're going through this transition period where people are trying to find a new price at which deals will be done. And the reality is that many software companies and other tech businesses just had so much money that they didn't have to raise more money. So we're now entering a stage where they are running out of money, we think, in the year to come. They will have to raise more money, and then we'll discover where that price is.
Does that mean, and we actually had, for example, Anu Dougal, which is of the Female Founders Fund in New York, saying that there's going to be about 1,000 unicorns that are going to have the rubber hit the road. They're going to run out of money and likely won't find new funding. Do you think that we will see an awful lot of unicorns suddenly exploding?
No, I don't think so.
Not unicorns?
I mean, there's $200 billion of dry capital on the sidelines waiting for market discovery of new prices. So I think there's plenty of money available for unicorns. I think it will be an environment in which flat is the new up. Yeah. So if you can raise money now at the price where you raised money 3 years ago, that will be victory. In fact, in the subsector of software, we did a study, and of the 200 unicorns in software, only 10% of them actually had to do with financing. And half of those actually financed at flat or up prices, and only a fraction of them down. So I don't think it's going to be that bad.
What about more international funds, such as yourself? You allocate money around the world. Accel is a worldwide known name. Are more international VCs West Coast-based VCs, those in emerging markets, are they coming here to Europe?
Yeah, absolutely, because Europe has become a really interesting market. What we saw 20 years ago, most people are seeing now. Namely, Europe is innovation happens everywhere, including Europe. It's a great market to be at. It's a great advantage for us to have been here for so long, but many of our competitors are now here as well, which is good because you cannot have an ecosystem with only a few investors.
What does this ecosystem seem like, look like, sound like from a diversity perspective? How does Europe, for example, compare with Silicon Valley, where people are always wringing their hands, and rightly so, that there is a lack of diversity in founders and indeed the VCs that allocate to them?
I think Europe is no different from the US. It's very similar in that sense.
So underrepresented,
yeah.
can do better.
Yeah.
How are you seeing it try to do better?
I think everybody is making a concerted effort in order to get it into the right direction. But it also has a lot to do with what happens before we meet entrepreneurs, like education, primary education, college education. That all adds up to the people whom we end up seeing as entrepreneurs.